After completing the honing of his blade, Hitman Sakata leaves in his flashy automobile in Shinjo City. Towards the end, some Yakuza thugs inform their master Kawano that a new gang is attempting to break into a residence near the shore. Conquer the metropolis. Kawano, enraged at the ineptitude of his troops, staggers into one of them and cuts off his face. Outside, Sakata, in the meantime, sneaks up on every guard. On his way, the appearance of a man's legs on another window and the subsequent drip, flow of blood. The men eventually discover there's an intruder and hurry to take Kawano to safety. However, Sakata, when the guys continue to battle and murder thugs on top, they attempt to flee with Kawano via the door, but bodies obstruct it, so they take him to the second level instead. Sakata masterfully uses his blade to end the guys coming after him, sending them sliding down the steps. Eventually, Kawano approaches his car only to realize the driver is already dead. After stabbing a couple more men, Sakata is thrown through a glass door by a gangster. They start fighting hand to hand, employing any object or piece of furniture present in the room. Sakata collapses and the guy sits on him to stab him, but Sakata slices off his hand and leaves him to bleed to death on the floor. Then he reaches Kawano's bedroom, and uses a thug's body as a shield against Kawano's gunfire. A scared Kawano tries to escape through the balcony, but Sakata quickly catches him and ultimately kills him. When the criminal tries to shoot Sakata by surprise, he's killed first by Sakata's handler Fujita. On their way out, Fujita compensates Sakata for this assignment and asks him not to retire, but Sakata refuses since his family is his priority today. All this is seen by someone in the shadows. Afterwards, Sakata goes home to his wife Aoi and his daughter Ryo and takes a shower before supper. However, Sakata is changing. He hears his family crying and finds several guys wearing monster masks around his family. They applaud Sakata for getting rid of Kawano's gang, since now their organization named the Kimen-gumi can govern the city. When one of the men takes Ryo, Sakata tackles him and gets ready to shoot him, but he pauses as another thug shoots something on the table. Then the guy starts beating Sakata up on the floor. Ryo begs the guy not to hurt her father, so Aoi runs to get her out of the path before asking for mercy and sobs. Tired of her wailing, a guy shoots her in the head. Enraged, Sakata orders Ryo to escape before he attacks the strangers, but a guy shoots the girl. While Sakata experiences a breakdown, the gang leader says that there's a monster in the city that possesses someone once in 50 years, causing them to go on a murderous spree. The Kimen-gumi's role is to safeguard the city from such evil, but Sakata still promises to destroy them all one day. The guys say they'll wait till that day before shooting Sakata too. Soon the cops discover the family and assume Sakata shot Ryo and Aoi before self-deleting. 12 years later, Mayor Senohara is talking to the press, outlining how he converted Shinjo City from a frightening crime-infested neighborhood into a lovely site of growth. He also announces that they'll be opening an integrated resort. Features a theater, shopping, and casino. A journalist named Kamiyama attempts to question about all the persons who have gone missing and been assassinated in the last decade, including the head of the organization opposing the resort building, but Senohara maintains it's all factless hearsay. In the meantime, Sakata has been living in a vegetative condition in a medical prison. When his term is finally done, Fujita comes to pick him up and brings him to an apartment in the slums, indicating that the city isn't performing as excellent as propaganda claims. Days start to pass and Sakata is taken care of by Fujita's relative Raj, who bathes him, feeds him, and takes him on walks. One evening as they're returning to the room, a criminal suddenly lunges on them and stabs Sakata's arm as he yells his name. It turns out he is the gangster whose hand Sakata ripped off years ago, and he wants retribution. Yet Sakata still doesn't react. At the same time, Kamiyama is meeting with the person with the slashed face to question him about the Kimen-gumi. The thug thinks Sakata was recruited by the Kimen-gumi, and Kamiyama sees the day of the attack is the same date as the resort acquiring its business license. All this happened about the time Sonohara became mayor. The mugger further adds that the Kimen-gumi earns their money via human trafficking and illicit narcotics. The conversation is interrupted by a masked stranger who destroys the van's window, leading Kamiyama to flee away in panic. The man chases after him to murder him with a hammer, while a second masked person drags the thug out of the vehicle. Then the men place the hammer in the thug's hand and give him a pistol to compel him to self-delete. They see him die before they receive an important call. At home, Fujita is practicing ping pong when thinking about the whole situation with Sakata and how he told the Kimen-gumi about the family. Yet they didn't listen to him when he implored them not to murder them. At that moment, he gets a call with shocking news. At the hospital, police chief Kotaro arrives to check on the victim of a hobo fight in the neighborhood. He offers the two guarding cops some money so they can. Taking a break, then he enters the room, revealing the victim is Sakata. Kotaro is currently sporting a monster mask and asks Sakata if he remembers him, which suggests he's one of the Kimen-gumi who killed Sakata's family. As he takes an injection from his coat, Kotaro reveals that 12 years ago, after the gang noticed Sakata was still alive, they got orders not to shoot him again. However, he always felt they should have murdered him. Then Kotaro injects Sakata's IV, unknowing that his voice is gently pulling Sakata out of his vegetative state. When Kotaro gets ready for a selfie, he notices Sakata moving again. After accidentally falling, Sakata grabs Kotaro and forces him fall, followed by some choking. However, Kotaro punches Sakata with a couple things to shove him off and lands a few kicks, gonna knock him unconscious. At that point, the officers come back and Kotaro needs to take off the mask to stop them from shooting. As soon as the guards turn around, Kotaro puts on the mask again and shoots a cop in the face, using a pillow to cover the noise. The other cop isn't shocked, since he's also part of the Kimen-gumi. When they realize a doctor observed all this, they shoot him as well. Suddenly, Sakata wakes up and jumps on Kotaro, so the cop attempts to defend his boss. It creates a fight among the three of them. The cop winds up falling and caught between the bed and wall as Kotaro goes on kicking Sakata, who manages to hit his enemy's head before attempting to use the IV line to choke him. Kotaro defends himself, and in the conflict they push the officer through the window. Then Sakata tries the IV line again, and when Kotaro rips it off, Sakata finishes strangling him with the bed sheets. When Fujita and Raj arrive at the hospital, they're astonished to see Sakata walk out. He grabs some food on his way out, which evokes a flashback about his family's demise, further fueling his desire for retribution. The news of Sakata's recovery reaches the Kimen-gumi, including the males operating in the illegal factory and relocating the ladies for sale. The leader is happy to hear this and labels Sakata a devil roaming in the city, so he starts dancing to celebrate with an old ceremony. Soon Fujita receives a telegram from the Kimen-gumi requesting him to deliver them Sakata's lifeless body. The party drives to the plant and Sakata's body is dropped in a bag before Fujita and Raj depart. Once the bag is tossed on a conveyor machine, Sakata arrives out and attacks a guard before exiting the room. The factory owner Takemoto witnesses Sakata fighting a lot of his staff on the cameras and immediately notifies the gate guard, who opens fire at the van. Raj is instantly murdered while Fujita is barely injured and soon shoots the guards back. After Takemoto eats his own product, he puts on the mask that designates him as one of the killers of Sakata's family. Meanwhile, Sakata moves around the different regions of the facility, knocking down every thug in his way by utilizing items he finds around or even cracking their heads on the wall, fences, and machinery. A man picks up Sakata with a loader truck and covers him with garbage before throwing him on the floor, so Sakata throws a dagger to kill him. Another man in a cart starts fires, so Sakata jumps on him to derail the truck and takes the pistol to murder a couple more dudes. Some workers rush onto the cart with him and Sakata murders them with his knife. Then he jumps off immediately before the cart smashes. Still driven for retribution, Sakata continues to create his way through the stairs in a corridor, always killing all the men who try to stop him. When he reaches the office floor, he realizes Takemoto is already outside pushing a button on his phone. At precise time, the building explodes up, and Takemoto receives a call from the leader, who witnessed the explosion and congratulates him on his achievement. However, Takemoto hangs up as he sees Sakata coming out of the building shielding himself with a blanket. It appears like another fight is about to begin, but Takemoto is ran over Fujita, who falls to his knees while spewing blood. He apologizes to Sakata for revealing the Kimen-gumi about his family and agrees he deserves an end too. So Sakata doesn't hesitate to shoot him. Afterwards, Sataka hangs Takemoto and starts beating him up, but Takemoto merely laughs and pledges fealty to his leader. At that moment, Takemoto's phone rings and Sataka hears the leader's voice. He furiously destroys Takemoto's mask as the commander exposes that his daughter is still alive. The leader turns out to be Mayor Sunohara, and he reveals that all these illicit operations bring the money to make the city progress. If Sakata wishes to see his daughter again, he must let Takemoto go. However, Sakata murders Takemoto anyhow. In the morning, media tell about all the attacks that occurred last night and blame them on Sakata, stating he died in the plant explosion. Meanwhile, Ryo is now a teenager being monitored by Kanta, another one of the disguised dudes. He's in charge of the Kimen-gumi's human trafficking enterprise. She likes to gaze at Ryo in uncomfortable ways. Sunohara contacts him and instructs him to find Sakata, who has been hiding since the tragedy. In a humble area, police officer Takigawa goes to his residence and sees the window was open before being shocked by Sakata. It comes out that many years ago, Sakata saved Takigawa's life, and since then the officer has been providing him information. Takigawa shows Sakata a video of the Kimen-gumi killing the CEO of a security business. He also possesses the finger of the victim. Now that business manages the security at the new resort. After snatching Takigawa's gun, Sakata heads to the security firm headquarters. He murders goons on every floor until he finds a little dwelling area. While Ryo hides behind him, meanwhile, Sakata sees a board full of images of his daughter, with Kanta masquerading as her father. At that moment, Kanta steps in and the men immediately start to fight. While Ryo utilizes the chance to run, Sakata overpowers Kanta and starts throwing him against the furniture all over the room. Kanta retaliates by slamming Sakata with a table before trying to shoot him, but Sakata dodges and starts battling him for the gun. When Kanta slaps him with a decoration to bring him down, he also insults him, and Sakata finally knows this is the guy that killed his wife. The rifle is stuck, so Sakata is going to finish this, but then Ryo comes back and calls Kanta father before shooting Sakata with her school bow. Sakata is too stunned to dodge, and the arrow hits him in the chest before Kanta pushes him through the window. Kanta then looks out and realizes Sakata is escaping in a car. It turns out Takigawa is dragging Sakata around and gets him to a secure area where he can remove the arrow and take care of the wound. At that point, Takigawa gets a call from Sunohara. Someone spotted him on the cameras and asks him to pass the phone to Sakata. Then Sunohara informs Sakata that if he wants to see Ryo again, he must come to the resort. Without thinking about his injuries, Sakata drives to his lair to collect his old blade and expensive automobile. Meanwhile, Ryo is locked up in a room in the resort. There are guards on every floor and every corner with lots of weapons. Suddenly, Sakata's empty automobile emerges outside as a distraction as Sakata himself creeps inside to start killing gangsters with his sword and the guns he obtains from the deceased men. He also utilizes any things in the room like freight carts and the fire extinguisher. When he takes the stairs, the combat continues, and Sakata never stops killing men as he keeps climbing higher and higher. Most of the thugs are simple to kill, but ultimately he finds a guy with a sword who manages to injure him before he gets slain too, pushing despite the pain. Sakata keeps walking till he encounters Kanta. The men battle again, and at first it seems their skills are on the same level. As he dodges strikes, like a pro, Kanta laments about Sakata showing up exactly as Ryo's physique is starting to mature, presenting strange descriptions about her. Kanta is about to stab Sakata when he stops the sword and just gets a scar on his cheek. Then Sakata steals the dagger and stabs Kanta's eye before beating him in the skull to knock him unconscious. More goons come after him, so by the time Sakata makes it to the last floor, he's fatigued. When he enters a room, he's surprised to see Ryo, who doesn't recognize him. This diversion allows the last masked man named Jin to knock Sakata unconscious. Eventually Sakata is taken to Sunohara, who informs Ryo about the tale of the city demon. Sunohara desires Sakata to become that monster and prepares his sword ready to murder Ryo, only for Takigawa to explode in with open fire. Most of the guards rapidly die, and Sunohara uses one of his men as a shield to exit the room. Sakata yells Ryo's name, and his words make her remember the day of the tragedy, showing that the gunfire had struck her toy. She runs to hide with Takigawa as Sakata battles Jin, who uses a metal stick. Sunohara returns to watch how easily Jin overpowers Sakata, who manages to only land a hit or two as Jin continues to beat him brutally. However, after much of hardship, Sakata finds an opportunity and stabs Jin before tossing him on the stairs. Afterwards, Sunohara pulls off Jin's mask, showing he's his identical brother, only Jin has a burn mark on his face. A flashback demonstrates how they were kept separated as youngsters at first, but once they met, Jin would do everything for Sunohara, even kill. Meanwhile, Takigawa is trying to leave the building with Ryo, who chooses to go back for her father. After putting on his mask, Sunohara starts battling Sakata using his sword. Since Sakata is already seriously injured, it's simple for Sunohara to slash him over and over until he cuts off Sakata's free hand. This isn't enough to stop Sakata, who keeps dragging his feeble body to throw additional assaults. Sunohara blocks all his strikes but still feels delighted since he sees that Sakata has truly become the devil of the city. Both men suddenly strike and stab each other at the same time, so Sakata exploits the moment to uncover Sunohara and eventually kill him with a hit to the head. Then Sakata slides down the stairs and notices Ryo saw everything. She attempts to approach closer, but at that time Kanta reappears to shoot Sakata. Next, Kanta attempts to reconnect with Ryo, who doesn't want anything to do with him now that she remembers she killed her mom. He begs for her attention, and Sakata approaches behind him to finally kill him with his blade. Sakata falls in Ryo's arms and delivers a few words of affection before dying. Sometime afterward, the police, firemen, then physicians came to take up all the bodies and wounded people. One of these bodies is Jin, who is still living. Ryo is instructed to wait in the ambulance, but while everyone is busy, she runs away. A year later, Jin is claiming to be his brother and wins the elections by gaining pity for his scar.